Hello, friends. So happy to have you here with me today at Radical Joy. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time with us, we're glad you're here. Each Wednesday, I'm here with you talking to myself about things that weigh on my mind and heart, hoping if you're dealing with something similar, we can adjust both our perspectives as you listen. The more people I meet and the more places I go, the more I realize how important it is to make people aware of the fact that there is no shame in enjoying the parts of your life that are incredible. It's time for some radical joy. And this week, three fingers pointing back at me are for focus. Today, I wrote this down a while back, and I think today's focus is going to be on, well, literally focus. The idea that came to my mind was, hey, have you seen my focus? Because I'm having a hard time figuring out what that is at the moment. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. What I think it is one of those things where in an age where our attention is pulled in every direction at every given moment, um, it's kind of hard to know where to put your attention at a lot of the times during the day. I work in social media, which has done absolutely nothing to help lengthen my attention span. I also work in performance, and that is another very ephemeral, very in the moment sort of situation to find myself living. And though I love it very, very much, it's one of those things where it happens in 2 hour segments. Like you have a show today, and you have a day off tomorrow, and we have a 7 hour van ride, and these kind of things where your life continues to be segmented into these portions. And you're like, well, what do I do with that? Because I think that whenever I have larger chunks of time to devote to focus or productivity or things like that, it's really, really simple to find a way to put that where I need it to be so that I can feel accomplished during a day with my to-do list items or my need to get done before EOD sort of situation. You know, these things continue to pop up in my head. I'm like, am I doing it right? Am I getting enough done? And I think that whenever I don't, I put a lot of my stock in my joy in being able to say, yes, I got this much done today, or, ooh, I wish I had been better about this today. Sorry, trying to get my angle right here to go with the mic and the camera. We've put a new element in here where I am filming in front of a backdrop for Radical Joy, and I love it. I think it's so great. Our producer, Carrie, put it together for me, and I love it. But occasionally I have just a little bit of issue, per the usual, of finding my focus. Do I look to the side? Do I look at the microphone? Do I look at the camera? It's just one of those things you have to get used to doing. And the mic is good. It'll pick me up. I'm close enough. I'm not too worried about it. But to say, whenever I don't feel accomplished, so much of my happiness, my contentment is connected so strongly to that and getting things done and making sure that whatever it is that I have to do in a day, a week, a month, a year gets done. And when it doesn't the way that I anticipate or have expectations to do, well, I get kind of down both on myself and the situations around me in general. And so, what I want to try to do moving forward is to keep that focus for as best as I can on being content with what I got done. Now, there are a lot of uh, movements, a lot of scuttle going on around the world and the internet, media, whatever you want to call it, about, being good to yourself, giving yourself a little grace. And you've heard me say that, more than once or twice here on Radical Joy. I want to continue to extend that grace to myself. I try to be focused on a lot of these topics at hand. I want to make sure that the things on my to-do list get done. As a matter of fact, this episode was added to my to-do list just moments ago. We're in Sydney, Australia right now. My buddy Josh and I share an apartment here right in Olympic Park. We're right on the water. It's absolutely stunning. And we normally go to the gym every day about this time because we have a van departure for tonight's venue. It'll be leaving in about 3 hours or so. And now Josh is across the street working out, and I am here uh, doing a different kind of workout here with you guys. And it it's really important for me to get that fitness in during the day, but this is also incredibly crucial. And I think sometimes I view that pairing as one pulling from the other, and what they really are running parallel. And I need to continue to remember that. It's really easy to get off on a tangent to say, well, I really want to do the gym and I need to do the gym because I've got this going on at this time and da 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 da. And valid. All those things can definitely be true. And it doesn't mean that these kind of things aren't just as beneficial for either my mental or emotional health. And I have to pay attention to those as well. I was journaling this morning over a glorious breakfast at one of my favorite restaurants here in town. It's just across the street from our apartment. And I am 2 out of 3 pages in, and the ink in my favorite pen runs out. Ah, and again, I have my phone near me. There are beautiful people all around me. There are the most gorgeous babies in this city, in this country. Oh my gosh. And it's Sunday morning. The weather's perfect. It's been winter for so long, and now the weather is warming. So everyone is out and they have their dogs and they have their this and their that. Plus, everyone's starting to take off their clothes because the weather's warming. So, of course, that's hard to focus whenever all that's happening around you. And in all this, I chose to get frustrated because I had things that needed to get done, and I felt distracted and frustrated and irritated because of all these other things happening around me. And I think I don't like to put a sticker on it. We don't love labels around here. I got frustrated. I did because what I wanted to do was finish my third page. The restaurant was starting to fill. It's a very happening spot. And especially as the time rolls on, I usually get there pretty early because my sleep schedule is off. I'm only living half a planet away right now, and I'm still trying to adjust. And instead of just sort of taking it all in, I chose to get fluffy about it and be a little twisty. And I was like, ugh. If I could just zoom out a little bit, I think what I could have given myself was just a little grace to appreciate the moment and the surroundings and what was happening, that can also be a very nourishing moment for both my mental and emotional health. I think it would serve me a lot better. Sometimes I feel as though I get my blinders on. I'm watching something happen. I'm hoping that something is going to come through for us, this, that, or the other thing. And if something gets in the way of that to sidetrack me, to distract me, even for a moment, I get irrationally upset about it. I know this about myself. It's one of those things where I talk about it in my journal pretty frequently. And I want to take that moment as a breather from now on instead of a distraction. Now, if it happens, 47 times for an 11-minute task, yeah, I think frustration is very easily forgivable. If this is a task that takes half an hour and every, say, 11 minutes, I get just a little bit pulled away because of that beautiful baby in a stroller or somebody's puppy that for whatever reason, the dog of the moment here in Sydney are those little doodle dogs that look like chicken tenders. You've seen them. They're like that beautiful golden brown, and their curls are just perfect, and if you get them in a wad, you can't tell in a picture if it's a dog or a chicken tender. Yeah, they're everywhere here, and they're beautiful. Oh my god, they're just gorgeous. And so it's hard not to have your attention pulled away for something like that because babies, I keep forgetting how wonderful they can be. Because whenever in my life, a lot of times a baby can be not always the best thing because I travel a lot. And sometimes, God love them, those sweetnesses don't know what's happening when the pressure is changing inside the cabin of an airplane. Or they're frustrated because of the noise in wherever they are, or they're just overstimulated because, travel atmospheres are very uh, action packed. And that can be very upsetting and very confusing for a baby, and so they start making all this racket, and I have become very sensitive to a lot of noise over the last few years for whatever reason, and I keep forgetting about when you get them babies, I mean, in a place where it's just people, and it's something familiar and comfortable, how wonder-filled they are. They want to wave, they want to come say hello, especially if you don't look like they look. They're fascinated, and I want to revel in that glory and wonderful and derive the joy from that moment shared with this brand new person instead of getting frustrated that this very easily accomplishable task has been interrupted for a total of 15 seconds to have that connection. And I think that's important. I really do. I think it's one of those things where instead of getting just forehead wrinkle and eyebrow knit, what I want to do is take that moment to show that baby that genuine connection happens. And I think that's way more important than me finishing this half-hour task in less than 35 minutes. Am I right? I don't know. Is that going to amplify the joy that I want to feel and definitely do once I take that moment with this beautiful new human? Yeah. Yeah, it does. And that's worth the trade. It just is. And I can't get mad about it. Pardon me. I choose to be better about it in the future because there's no reason to get that upset about it when what you're doing is making a connection with another soul on the planet. And I know how cheesy that sounds. I get it, but it's also a baby. Man, come on. If you want to reach unbridled, purest joy, make a connection with that one. Everything is new. Everything is a wonder. So when you hitch your trailer to that sort of situation, don't be surprised whenever the joy you feel is several orders of magnitude greater than what you might be used to feeling. I get it. I do. And it's wonderful. I love it. I do. Focus is one of those things where you can continue to lend and borrow. You can have your own, you can lend it to others whenever they might need something of yours, and you can borrow from others when you might need their assistance to accomplish your task more effectively. And so I think it's one of those things where it's not a finite amount of something as much as it is a quantity to be held, borrowed, and lent. And I like that idea because whenever I feel as though maybe I've given too much of myself in a day, the next day I can be a little more selfish with what I have, or I can lean a little more heavily on those who perhaps know more than I about a certain topic or have a certain skill set that would help me complete my task in a much more efficient manner. I think focus is a good thing to keep on a spectrum. I think a broad focus is excellent whenever we're talking about a life experience, a trip, a vacation, a looking to squeeze every drop of wonderful out of something. I think a broad focus is really important. I think a narrow focus is crucial in things like study and reading, composition, those sorts of things. Now, depending on the kind of reading and composition, if you're reading for enjoyment or love, I think it's interesting to keep an open perspective so that you can accommodate new perspectives and viewpoints. I think it's very important to do something very similar in an academic setting. If you're writing for study or publication, I think it's really important to make sure that you keep a focus on the topic at hand while still allowing other inputs in the playground. It's important to do these kinds of things. Focus is one of those things where I think the more caffeine that I've had, usually the more frustrated and antsy I become if someone is sort of like tugging at my pant leg, trying to get my attention. And instead of taking that moment as sort of a distraction slash refocus to come back to it whenever maybe I've gotten bogged down and can't see past the end of my nose, it's nice to sort of spread that focus so that I can get a better feel about going back to it. Sometimes a breather is crucial. You can't spend your entire life nose down. I mean, diving, you go down, you see everything, you're intently focused on something for, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, maybe even 40. Then you come back to the surface. You've got to take that moment to get a natural breath, to recalibrate, to bring your equilibrium back to where it needs to be in order to go back to something that requires your utmost attention. And I love that idea. It's like, yeah, okay. Pardon me. Instead of getting so worked up about not being able to intently focus for hours at a time on something, which I can no longer do. In the year of our Lord 2023, that is just not something that I'm capable of doing anymore for hours. No, absolutely not. The only thing I can focus on for hours at a time now is sleep, and sometimes not even that. And I think that's just the nature of the beast of our world. And I think that's part of the reason why we love escape as much as we do, especially like camping, going to the great outdoors, putting your feet in the dirt or the grass, reconnecting, refocusing energy on what's important, on what must be done, when those are the same, and when those are different. And I think that's an important distinction to make. And sometimes we can get so incredibly hyper laser focused on things that demand our attention, but aren't necessarily crucial in the grand scheme of things. I think that there's something deep and instinctual inside all of us that knows that we know, okay, I have to do this for money because I love living indoors and eating. Those are two habits to which I have grown immensely accustomed. And there's a way to do that without completely driving yourself mental. There's a way of keeping your balance. There's a way of making sure that the focus that you lend to that can be what I think of here is almost like a water hose. You know, if I was about to call it a hose pipe. Here we go. Any of you guys that are from the South, you know, it's a hose pipe, of course. And they used to have those connections on the end, you know, the nozzle where you can twist, and it'll shoot it in a laser beam. Right. If you try to water your flowers with the laser beam, you're going to blast the soil away from the roots and you're probably going to kill your plants. However, if you twist that nozzle and you make that laser beam into a soft spray, you still get the job done. It's not done quite so quickly, but it's done so much more healthfully that that is actually preferred method. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I could see where that would be helpful. Great. That's all I'm saying in here. Yes, focus is incredibly important. It also depends on the task at hand. If you're watering the flowers, let's make it a spray. If you are cleaning the sidewalk, absolutely. Laser focus is the thing you need. The good news is, if that's a small spot, that focused spray is only going to be needed for so long until the task is complete. And then you can either turn off the spigot or you can go back to that softer spray so it's not quite so intense. Not that there's anything really wrong with intense, but I think that prolonged periods of ultra focused intention can be a lot to handle. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes that's exactly what we need. And I am here for that as well. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's that gentle, nurturing, nourishing spray, for lack of a better term, that serves so much better. And I think that maybe just the world that we live in is accustomed us to think that perhaps it's the go, 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 work till you drop situation that has some sort of merit, wherein I think preserving enough of you to share with loved ones and things in your life that you love that make you a better, stronger, bigger, kinder person deserve that leeway. That you can give yourself that kind of permission, just sort of be like, yeah, this is what happened today, and that's great. I got this done, this done, and this done. And it's so funny. The other day, I had a day where I was so productive. I got so much done that day. And there was still one or two very small items on a to do list that simply did not get done. And instead of looking at the productivity that I had during that day, not to mention my much better mood overall, I still let myself get really bent out of shape about that one item on the to do list that just didn't get done. And day of, it made all the sense in the world. I was like, I could have had a perfect 10. I could have gotten that whole list completed. I could have been uber productive, but instead I was just really productive. Boo. Are you kidding? Are you joking right now? Because that's the part that just cracks me up. Instead of looking at the 80% of wonderful, no, not even, looking at the 90% of productive, of well-intentioned, strong, focused work that I did during that day, I bemoaned that one item, two items that didn't get done that really weren't that pressing on the list. What is it that you have during a day that you need to get done? I want to ask all of us that question. What is it that we simply must get done in a day in order to feel accomplished, productive, etc.? Do we even have that list? What are those items? How many items are on it? Hey, careful with that, okay? Because for me, sometimes that gets a little away from me. I don't pay attention. I don't listen. I don't know. And it's really important to make sure that you are continually checking in with yourself to make sure that the stuff on your list is important, that it continues to feed into a feeling of productive and, well, joyful. I'm sorry, that's the title of the podcast. I don't know why I would apologize for that, but these are things that are important for our health. I don't think a lot of people really take into account. Yes, there are a lot of people depending on them to do a lot of very important things. Not making light of that, not trying to distract from that fact of life. I'd also like to make sure that you understand that we have to continue to feed ourselves and nourish ourselves as people before we are tools for someone else's ends. Okay? And this counts for everyone, whether it's a partner or a child or a boss or any number of things. I want to make sure that you're giving enough love and attention to yourself, speaking to me too, so that I can continue to be good. I think a lot of people, myself included, think that busy equals productive, and that's not always the case. And I'm here from personal experience to tell you that is not always the case. And more often than not, that isn't the case at all. I find myself with a lot of free time on my hands currently because a lot of my life in general is segmented into these portions. Like I have from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. to do whatever it is I need to get done during the day before we leave to go to do the show. Once we arrive at the venue, we'll have a sound check. Great. We'll have dinner. We'll have a couple of hours to do whatever. And for a lot of these things, maybe I can get some of my to-do list work things for social media done in that time, which would be great. There's no guarantee of that. You never know what the internet situation is going to be. You never know what the solitude situation is going to be. Even here in the apartment, I don't know where Woody is half the time. I know where he is right now. He's across the street picking up heavy things and getting all buff and swole, which is perfect. Makes him feel great, makes him a better performer and a more centered, focused human being. And I'll be doing that too later. Right now, I need to focus on this because this is where my attention lies. This is where I know I have all the resources available and ready for use. And so I want to do that. Am I frustrated? Sure. I would much rather be at the gym with Woody right now. It's just nice to have somebody who's so aligned on a parallel goal. It's very motivating. It's great. And I love being here with you. It's not that I am upset that I have to do this. This is a labor of love, and it barely qualifies as a labor. And I'd still love to be across the street at the gym. It's one of those things where sometimes we'll get frustrated because it's not enough to just get the things done. I want to get them done in the order and in the um, setting that I want it to get done. I want it to get done A, B, C, D. I want it to be done here, there, with whom, and how often. And sometimes that just isn't a reality. It isn't. And instead of getting all twisty and wonky and sideways, what I want to do is acknowledge that, Be grateful for the times that I get where I can do this in solitude in a place that I feel comfortable and most at home doing it with people whom I love, which is you. And it makes us all feel better, I hope. I'm hoping that because you tune in, every week to get this half hour of fun and juicy, that we all walk away from it better. That's why I do this. It makes me feel great. And I get it twice. Well, maybe one and a half. I get to record it now. And then whenever it debuts on a Wednesday, I get to listen to it to see how it turns out. Because recording it isn't the same as listening it. And it's taken a lot to listen to my voice. Anybody else out there have a really hard time listening to your own recorded voice played back? It makes me crazy pants. I don't love it. This is another way that this podcast has helped me grow as a person, because now I want to listen to this to make sure it meets the standard of love and care that I want to put into it, not just for myself, but also for any of you out there that may be listening. It's important. We start with love at home so that we can be better about loving others. And it's a skill. For some, it's a talent, but it still has a huge element of skill involved. You have to look at it. You have to work at it. You have to make sure that these things that impede it are moved aside. Because when I do get frustrated, when I do get distracted, and that lack of focus for that few seconds or few minutes makes me frustrated to the point where now my joy has dimmed, I have to look at that more closely. I have to be really careful about that. Because again, even though I hope you don't take this as anything other than me just owning what I think is something I enjoy very much about myself. This element of joy and living fully in me is definitely a gift I've been given, and I'm grateful for it every day of my life. That being said, I still have terrible days, okay? Even though I am half a world away in a glorious country doing what I love more than just about anything else in the world, I have metric tons of amazing piled up in the bed of my truck, okay? And I drive that around with me everywhere I go. That doesn't mean to say that I still don't have bad days. Really hard days, most of which are my own doing. Because if I just took a second, if I just stopped and thought about, dwelled on the why of my frustration or irritability, I would probably snap out of it pretty quickly. There's so much to be thankful for. There is. There's a lot of hardship in the world. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying look past that. What I'm saying is if we focus on the things for which we are grateful, it can lead into the rest of that feeling somewhat lighter, somewhat easier. That's been my experience. And I know I live a charmed life. I want to make sure everybody out there knows, well, Bullard, blah, blah, blah. And if I did, da, 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 da. Yes. Acknowledged. Thank you for holding me accountable. And also, I got here because I wanted it. And I took steps to get it. And it didn't happen overnight. Please understand, this isn't me bragging, y'all. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. What this is me just saying, hey, it took a long time to figure out what I wanted. And then I had to start working to get it. And now, what a wonderful place to find myself. I wrote about this in my journal this morning. I have to come up with what it is I want again, because the old list is kind of full of ticked off and scratched off. What a fantastic place to find oneself. And that's what I want for all of us. I do. I want to make a list of things that I want. I want to work and move towards accomplishing those things in everything that I do. Small steps. Small. Consistency is key. It's not about making big steps every once in a while. It's about making small steps daily, or multiple small steps daily. Because I don't think people understand the power of ripples, or compound interest. Moving with intention towards your goals and focusing on accomplishing them is how they get done. And in record time, okay? Please understand when I tell you this, I'm only saying it because I've been there and I know it takes some discipline. It takes willingness to forego some simpler pleasures, treats, etc., for the sake of a grander goal. It's doable. It takes a little bit of sacrifice, a lot of discipline, a lot of focus, and a ton of faith. A ton of faith to know that what you're working toward is going to be yours if you continue to make those consistent small steps. God, I love these times we get to spend together. I do. It makes me so happy to be on a microphone knowing that come Wednesday, somebody is going to be talking with me about this. Though I may never hear their side of the conversation, the goodwill is there, the love is there. And I hope that something I've said in here moved you strongly enough so that you actually started talking to your phone like you were talking to me or talking to the radio in the car or wherever it is you're listening. We're thrilled you're here. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first episode, welcome. Oh, we're so happy to have you. Very exciting news. A lot of the episodes we have are just of me talking about how to maintain, cultivate, and spread joy in your life and the lives of others. But very soon we're going to be having lineups of guests. And I am very excited about it because I love doing these. And I think it would be very important to get other people on the podcast that can share their experiences in life, work, relationships, and how they maintain their sense of joy and purpose. So, if this is your first episode, wonderful. We love that you're here. If it is not, thank you for being a loyal listener. We love having you here, very much so. And I'm excited moving forward that we're going to have more voices here on Radical Joy so that other viewpoints can be displayed so we can all get just a little bit more out of our own lives. If you're the reviewing type, please make sure you leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening. Take a screenshot of it, send it to us because I would love to send you a Radical Joy sticker. It's hot pink and perfect for sticking on a water bottle, a computer, or wherever it is you like to put your stickers. I keep mine on a journal, and I highly encourage it. As always, we are so grateful to have you here. We love you. Hope you have a wonderful week ahead. And we'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Love y'all. The bottom line is, use your words, friends. Thank you for joining us again in this moment of radical joy. If this is your first time, we're so happy you're here. Take a moment to check out our archive. See if there's something else that fires you up, rekindles the joy in you. And hey, spread the word if you enjoyed it. We welcome reviews and messages. Let me know what you want to talk about. I rarely run out of things to say. So if there's something on your mind or heart, I want to hear from you. Don't forget, there is no shame in joy. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 911. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Anything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Learn more about James and CLW Studios. Follow the link in the show notes. Don't forget to leave a review, and hey, we'll send you a sticker. Just send a screenshot and let us know where you want it sent. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday for another dose of radical joy. Love y'all.